Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Friday, May 7th, 2021, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis. We're starting a little late here, so I'm going to move fairly quickly. We're going to really quickly go through here. 3 months still super bullish here. We've now pushed to a new all-time high in the pre-market here. No signs of exhaustion. Same deal on our monthly. And then our weekly, which is closing today. Remember I said on this weekly candle here, first of all, we had this what looks like kind of like a reversal doji. Well, we just broke above it, so that's now negated. Second thing is, I said if we don't break below this low at 41.1050, then we start to have what could be interpreted as some divergence. But overall, you can see this weekly candle, we came all the way down, the bulls pushed it all the way back up, and now we're at new all-time highs. So a nice bullish doji here. So everything looks great on the weekly, no signs of exhaustion. And then on the daily, we said yesterday right here that we had the indication of bullishness off the lows. And remember yesterday we had all those indications of bullishness off the lows on the intermediate and short time frames and the high time frames. And we did end up pushing lower. They pretty much came down and stopped all of us cocky bulls out and then went for it. So we expected a push yesterday. Unfortunately, they sold off and then they pushed. So got pretty bullish there. Again, no clear indications of reversal, although we are starting to kind of get this push to a new all-time high and the RVI is a little lower. So there's a little bit of an indication of some bearishness here on the daily, but we don't quite see it on the other high time frames. On our 4-hour here, we definitely have, again, looking like a little bit of bearishness on the all-time high here. And so there's that, but there's also this nice bullish indication off of the overnight low, or at least I think that is the overnight low there at 91.75. So 91.75 has a bullish indication on the 4-hour here. And then the 4-hour and the daily definitely do have what looks like some exhaustion here as we try to push to new all-time highs. Same situation here on the 60-minute. So there might end up being somewhat of a pullback here. We'll have to see what the intermediate time frames say. Looking at these lows right now, and really no bullish signs, outside of the bullish sign we had yesterday, but that led. So from 41.60, we're now up 50 points or more from that indication. So currently, right now, you can see we had some signs of exhaustion, and we got this pullback in the overnight from 03 to 92, so about 10-11 points. And now we're pushing to new all-time highs, and we're still getting a little bit of exhaustion. So we've got kind of a 4-hour, daily, and 60-minute indication of a little bit of exhaustion up here. Now that could be just like this little pullback, just because we are so strong and the bulls have been relentless for months now. But this is something to keep in mind, that we are getting the indications of the potential for some exhaustion in this push. So let's go down to our intermediate time frames here and see what they're saying. Now I did have an indication of a double top here, and I saw it on a number of time frames. This little double top, we got a bearish indication in the pullback. And now up here you can see again, well, let me go to the 30-minute. So the 30-minute, where we got that double top bearishness, we actually, or I'm sorry, that was over here. But we did have, again, just like the other time frames, some bearishness just off of that first test of the overnight high. And so we got the pullback, and now we're pushing. But as we push, we're getting somewhat of a bearish indication here. So pretty much the daily, 4-hour, 1-hour, and 30 minutes so far showing a little bit of bearishness as we push. That doesn't mean we're getting a huge pullback just because of the market context, but things are definitely kind of looking that way. So we got to keep this in mind, the 10-minute as well. And remember, we're just going on signals and not trying to be subjective here. I'm just going by exactly what these time frames are saying. And so as I look, I've got some daily bearish potential because the daily has all day to form. I have some 4-hour potential bearishness here. Now that can change. Let me bring up the 4-hour really quickly here. This candle is going to close at 7 a.m. In the next 40 minutes, if price pushes here and then the RVI starts to do something like this and it comes up and it pushes higher and then the candle closes at 7 a.m. and RVI is up here now, then yeah, there will no longer be the bearish indication. So we're going to have to kind of watch that. Again, the daily, definitely bearish looking, but if we have all day, we could see that price pushes higher here and the indicator ends up tilting upward and then we don't have the bearish signal. So we're going to have to kind of monitor it, but for now, there definitely looks like some bearish indications here on the 4-hour, on the daily, and then that 60-minute already closed and showed a bearish signal. So daily, 4-hour, 60-minute, here's our 30-minute, which closed also bearish, and then our 10-minute, which closed pretty bearish. And so we're going to have to kind of monitor this. There's definitely a little bit of bullishness off of that low, but it looks like we're breaking down. It's probably going to break that 0250 here in the next few moments. And so overall, if we just go by the picture that these time frames are giving us, it looks fairly bearish off of this overnight high. So coming into the open, we have some conditions. The condition is if we can't break above the all-time high at 42.14, which I'll go ahead and mark here, and I typically mark the all-time high with a white line. So if we can't break above that, then yeah, we're gonna stay very bearish. So let's see, from a 10-minute perspective, what I'd like to do is just kind of zoom out of everything and just look at what's going on here in the market. So it's been pretty messy up here in this like 80-point range, compared to what happened earlier, right? So March was really, really bullish, and then we got the pullback, and then again, I always like to tout that we in the trade room, even though we were selling off pretty nicely on March 25th, we got those bullish indications on every single time frame, and we said we're going to have a very strong bull bias, and then from that point we pushed, and all of March and the first half of April was just a huge bull push, and then we got to the end of April here, and it's just been, they've been having a lot of trouble kind of with any conviction here. So currently what I'm looking at is this current leg. So we've got the low from 40.50 up to the high that we made now, and then we have this smaller leg right here, which would be the low at 59, let's call it, let's see, 41.60 up to where we are now. And so we have these 3 retracement levels, which interestingly enough line up pretty much with the KP, the 2 KPs here with the previous resistance in the market around 41.79, 79.50, which I had a line there at 79.50. I deleted it, but now that I'm seeing kind of a lot of stuff sitting right there, I might want to redraw that. So we have like a 79.50 level here, which the KP is sitting at. So I'm kind of drawing over the KP. But a decent confluence here around the 61.8 retracement at 79.50, where the 2 KPs are. And then we have some decent confluence right around the 50% retracement, where we have the CP, and then we have my level 85, which was drawn based on some previous price action back here. You can see some decent resistance in the market multiple times. It became support, broke through just a little bit. Again, support, support, resistance, resistance, resistance. And so that level is also interesting because it's lining up now with our CP and the 50 retracement. And then finally, the 38% is basically right here where we had support in the market from the overnight, that 92 quarter, which is a level we've had marked for quite a while as well. So if we do get a pullback here, we're going to be looking for potential support in the market at these three general areas. And then, of course, the 50% of the previous day, which you've seen multiple times just in this 1 week, can be pretty important, is down here. It's not quite lining up with a lot of stuff that I like, although you can see pretty decent resistance in the market there, right there, support, support, basically some support there, and it bounced, support, support, resistance off by a tick or two, resistance, support, support, resistance. So this level could end up being pretty interesting if we pull back. Everything is really kind of looking bearish up off the highs here, not from the super high time frames, but from our high time frame of the daily and the 4 hour and 60 minute, and our intermediate time frames, the 30 and the 10. So we're going to go ahead and say we have a pretty bear bias here, unless they can go up and break the all-time high, which we made in the overnight. We've got just about 3.5 minutes here until the open. And so, again, we have a pretty bearish bias coming into the open here off the all-time high. Now, we did pull back about 10 points. And although we have so many time frames agreeing, remember it's not 100%, and sometimes you don't get the follow through. So we definitely got 10-point pullback from where that indication formed. The question is, are we going to get the follow through to get a deeper pullback? But I am more interested in finding maybe a short this morning to take it down to a deeper retracement, just because all of the time frames are kind of agreeing there. So we've got our levels here, and if you look at what price has done in the past, you can see how relevant these levels are. So if you want to throw them on your chart, you have them right here. 0350, that 97 quarter was yesterday's high. 92 quarter, we've got the CP. So a lot of these are prediction points. So if you have prediction points on your chart, you don't really need to worry about, like, that 85 is right there. And then with this pullback down here, 75.50. Now this was that messy area that we had like a million levels that I think Matt was making fun of how many levels there were. But 75.50, 72, and then the 50% of the previous day at 68. They're all right there, just kind of in a choppy zone. And then it kind of opens up down to 62. And then we have our CP. And then this is another super messy area, but we saw yesterday how relevant all three levels were. 55.50, 53.50, 51.50. I know they're 2 points from each other. And then 49.50. It's kind of a clusterfuck there, but you can see that there was also kind of a lot going on there. So I'm going to leave those levels there. If you want to be more discerning, there's literally 2 prediction points right within that area. So just stick with those, 50 quarter and 54. So we've got just 1 minute here until the open. And so I'm kind of looking at my short time frames just to see if I have any clear indications for a decent trade, and I do not have that right now. In fact, if you just look at all this chop right here, it's super friggin' messy right here. Pull up the 3 minute here. And off the overnight high, which was the all-time high, you can definitely see kind of this very clear bearish divergence. And currently, you could kind of argue, well, you actually can't really argue, but let's see. I don't like how that, so this bar was just crazy. You see this wick, 42.14, almost a 10-point bar there on the 3 minute. So that's hard to really look at. So I don't see anything too sexy right now. So we're going to have a bear bias coming into the open, assuming they can hold below 42.14.